What's going on, everyone? We are right in the midst of an amazing time in the sports world. We have the NHL playoffs, the NBA playoffs, but people are wondering, as the draft lottery was just released, are the NBA playoffs and really professional sports in general rigged? Did Adam Silver have a hand in the Mavericks getting the number one overall pick, despite making one of the most controversial trades in NBA history with Luka Doncic and Anthony Davis just a couple months ago? People are wondering. They've been throwing out four very specific examples of times when teams traded away their superstar or all-star players and received the number one pick in the following draft. So people are wondering, is the NBA potentially rigged? We're watching the NBA playoffs, seeing controversial calls at the end of games. People always love to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs in the NFL and the referees and all of these calls that they supposedly get. So, what we are going to do is we're going to focus in on the NBA today because that is the main event that's been going on. The draft lottery just happened. The NBA playoffs are happening. Everything huge in the NBA is going on right now. So we're going to focus in and break down a few of the statistics and history on why I believe the NBA is entirely true. There is no rigging going on in the NBA. Adam Silver does not have a hand in what team gets the number one overall pick. And I'm just going to start by saying that a few people love to say that if the NBA wasn't rigged, why don't they just show us the draft lottery itself? Why is it not televised? And my answer to them is that it is. It actually is televised. You can go on YouTube and watch the entire lottery and see that it is clearly not manipulated in any way whatsoever. So the people that just are in the idea that because they haven't looked something up for themselves, it's not out there, need to be willing to do the dirty work of actually looking to see that, oh, the draft lottery is actually televised. I just haven't watched it. Therefore, I shouldn't make the assumption that because I haven't seen it, something must be going on behind the scenes. So that's the first thing, because a lot of people just simply don't look up the information that's out there for them to make their own conclusion for themselves. But we have four examples of times where teams traded away their star players that are getting brought up right now in congruence to this Mavericks, Lakers, Luka Doncic, Anthony Davis trade when teams got the number one overall pick the following year. So let's go ahead and look at those four examples. And I'm going to give some additional statistics regarding how likely the chances of these teams getting that number one pick were. So in 2012, the Cavs lost LeBron James and then got the number one pick the following year. They had a 13.8% chance to get the number one overall pick, which was the third highest odds of any team in the NBA. So, one of these four examples was the third highest odds. So, that's not really too far out of the realm of possibilities that the third highest chances of getting the number one overall pick got the number one overall pick. That's one of them. The next one, a year later, 2013, the Pelicans lost Chris Paul and then got the number one overall pick. This was an 8.8% chance of happening, the fifth highest odds in the NBA. So, still nothing too crazy. A team within the top five of getting the number one overall pick got the number one pick. In 2019, the Pelicans lost Anthony Davis. Man, the Pelicans had a rough stretch right there, losing Chris Paul and Anthony Davis. 2019, Pelicans lose Anthony Davis, get the number one overall pick the following draft. They had a 6% chance and the seventh highest odds of getting the number one overall pick. And last, you guys know this one, in 2025, the Mavericks lose Luka Doncic and get the number one overall pick. And they had the 11th highest odds at 1.8%. So obviously, starting with LeBron in 2012 and the Cavs going from the third highest odds at 13.8% chance to the Mavericks having a 1.8% chance is a very drastic difference. The Mavericks obviously had an extremely, extremely low chance of getting the number one overall pick, but nonetheless, they did. So that brings the question, with all of these examples, is the NBA rigging the draft for when teams maybe lose their best player, they then get compensated and get the opportunity to make up for it? And there's something really wrong with this ideology. Number one, I just shared some statistics and percentages and odds on how some of these teams, such as the Cavs and the Pelicans, actually had odds within the top three or the top five of getting that number one overall pick. So it really isn't that weird that they got the number one overall pick. But now we're going to go through five examples of times where teams traded away their stars, their superstar players, and didn't get the number one overall pick. So if we're just going to choose 4 examples of times where teams did get the number one overall pick, we need to look at it the other way around. In 2023, the Nets lost both Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. So what pick did they get the next year? They got the 22nd pick in the next draft. Not the first, not the third, not the fifth, not inside the top 10, not inside the top 20. And they lost 2 star players. Both Kevin Durant and both Kyrie Irving were lost by the Brooklyn Nets, and they got the 22nd pick in the next draft. Brutal. In 2021, the Rockets lost James Harden, got the 2nd pick in the draft the next year. Okay, a top 2 pick. Maybe this is rigged after all. In 2019, the Thunder lost both Paul George and Russell Westbrook and got the 21st pick in the next draft, outside of the top 20 yet again for losing 2 star or superstar players, however you want to classify Paul George and Russell Westbrook. 2018, the Spurs lose Kawhi Leonard and got the 18th pick in the draft. 2017, the Kings lost DeMarcus Cousins and got the 5th pick in the NFL draft. So these guys at the time, prime superstar, elite caliber players on their teams, get traded away. They don't retain them. They give up their contract. They go to another team. Just like the 4 examples that we gave before. Yet the highest pick that was got of these 5 was James Harden and the Rockets, getting the 2nd pick after losing James Harden. We have KD and Kyrie and the Nets going as the 22nd pick in the following draft. We have the Thunder, Paul George, and Russell Westbrook, the 21st pick in the following draft. We cannot just give the examples of times when arguments benefit whatever we're trying to convey. We can't just come up with a narrative and then only choose to select the pieces of evidence that support that narrative. We need to do it with all of the evidence that we're given. And that's the first point that I want to make on what we can take away from this. We cannot just make an argument with a selective piece of evidence without looking at the bigger picture. We have 4 examples that we gave right away where the argument being conveyed was that the NBA is rigged and that teams who trade away their star or superstar players automatically get the number 1 pick. That's what thousands of people are saying right now. Yet we just gave 5 more examples on the other side where, just like the first 4 star players, superstar players were traded away, unable to retain their contract, whatever the situation may be. And teams did not get the number 1 overall pick. And some of them didn't even get inside the top 20. So we can't just choose to ignore these 5 examples and only focus on these 4 that benefit whatever argument we're trying to say. That's just not a fair way to look at things. And number 2, we need to really understand the entire concept of what happens in trading away a star player. If I'm the manager of an NBA team, if I'm the NBA, if my favorite team's star player gets traded away, what is going to happen to that team? My team is going to get worse. That's just the way that trading and losing players works. If you give up your best player who's been in your franchise for years, maybe even a decade, your team is going to get worse. There's no way around it. Whether or not you're getting players back, chemistry is lost, years of experience are lost between coaches, between players, all of the team cohesion, it's no longer there. Teams, when they trade away their superstar players, are going to get worse. We see this year in and year out, no matter the trade, no matter how good players even are. If you lose your best player, force anything in return, your team gets worse. So what happens when your team gets worse? They perform worse in the standings. They do worse in the regular season. Odds are they probably don't make the NBA playoffs. So what happens when teams perform worse in the regular season? They get a higher chance of getting a higher draft pick. Obviously, the odds of them getting the number 1 pick go up, or any high pick in general go up, if they trade away their best players. So to say that it is just wild that when these teams are trading away their best players and getting worse at basketball and performing worse, the fact that they're getting a higher draft pick makes total sense. That's the entire point of what a lottery draft is, so that teams who tank don't automatically get the number 1 overall pick. But when you have a team that gets worse, they're a lot more likely to get the number 1 overall pick. That's the entire concept. So to say that it's just strange that these teams, after giving up their best players, are getting high draft picks, it's not strange. It makes complete sense. That's the exact purpose of what a lottery is. And the last thing I want to take away along those lines is that random things happen. Yes, it's crazy that the Mavericks, with a 1.8% chance after trading away Luka Doncic in what was arguably the most controversial trade in NBA history, it's weird that they got the number one overall pick. I will not lie. As someone who believes that the NBA and professional sports are absolutely legit and not rigged, it's weird that they got the number one overall pick with the 11th highest odds. But to say that the NBA is rigged when four examples are the only thing that proves that it's rigged, when failing to look at examples that prove the exact opposite, doesn't make any sense. In the last 50 years, only 24 of the top, in the last 50 years, only 24 of those years did the team with the highest odds of getting the number one overall pick actually receive the number one overall pick, which means more than half of the time in the last 50 years, a massive sample size, has the team who was projected to get the number one overall pick actually gotten the number one overall pick. So we can't say that because what was supposed to happen or what was most likely to happen didn't happen, the NBA has to be rigged. That's just not the way it is. If less than half of the time the team with the greatest odds to get the number one overall pick didn't get the number one overall pick, the NBA isn't rigged. It just didn't happen. Things happen. And to say that all of the NBA is rigged, games are rigged, teams going against the spread, Vegas has a hand, Adam Silver has a hand, it's just a completely bogus argument. The NFL doesn't rig games. They don't favor the Chiefs. They don't throw flags. It's different. There are individual officials. There are game calls that are made on the floor. There would have to be so many hands in the pot controlling the way that these things occur in order to say that the NBA is rigged. But I'm hoping that these examples are just enough to convince you that, oh, maybe I need to take a broader look at this. Maybe I need to widen my scope a little bit and not just believe that the four examples that were given to me prove that the NBA is rigged. And the last thing I want to share with you, and I don't know the exact stats, but I was watching the What's Right podcast on YouTube, and he shared that in order for the top three teams who had the most likely odds of getting the first, second, and third overall pick in order, the odds of the three greatest teams, which I believe had a 14%, 13%, and 12% chance of getting the number one overall pick, if it actually occurred where the team with the 14% chance got first, 13 got second, and the 12% chance got third in that order, there is like a 0.002% chance of the most likely occurrence actually happening. If the most likely occurrence has a 0.002% chance of happening, let's just say it's even 1%. If the most likely thing to occur has a 1% chance of occurring, that's not a lot. So to say that if anything else happens, except for this 1% chance, this 0.002% chance likelihood of occurring, the NBA must be rigged. It's just a ridiculous argument, you guys. Absolutely ridiculous. So, you know my take on professional sports. I will stand on the fact that there is no way that these professional sports are rigged. Yes, teams with bigger markets are given prime time games. They're given the television providers. They're given the Sunday night football games. They're given the Christmas Day games. That doesn't mean the NBA is rigged. They're just appealing to the biggest market possible so they can get the most revenue possible from the most viewership possible. That doesn't mean that people are manipulating the games, manipulating teams, manipulating drafts. There is so much that goes into the way the system works. And to say that it's rigged is it's just not a really good argument, you guys. So we broke it down. This is just the NBA we were breaking down. If you guys want more content on maybe the NFL, on the Chiefs, I'm willing to give that to you. I love to do this research. This is what I do in my free time. But do me a huge favor. Please leave a like, subscribe to this YouTube page, and let me know in the comments below what you think. Is the NBA rigged? Do you agree with some of the stats that I proved in this video that I shared with you? What is your take on professional sports and whether or not Las Vegas, maybe the officials of the league, have a hand in the results of the game? That's all I got for this video. Again, like, subscribe, leave a comment below. I'd love to know your thoughts. I want to make this interactive, but I would love to break down anything that you guys would like when it comes to the sports world. So That's all I got for this video. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.